also X?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Donny, we're live now, man. I really
Hey.
appreciate your time. For those that don't know you, although you have a lot of followers on LinkedIn, okay, I think more than me. But like,
Yeah.
for those that don't know you, can you make a brief intro about your academic background, professional background, and what got you to do what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Donny. Run Next Level Esports. I'm the founder. I started in 2015 in esports, and in 2018 I founded Next Level Esports through my own experience being an esports collegiate player that got coaching, but I was
Mhm.
basically disappointed with the coaching skills level. It was a great guy that was my coach back then, but I uh, couldn't find the connection of like, oh, there's so much potential and opportunity in esports coaches. So I decided to become an esports coach myself. Quickly became a professional esports coach and performance coach for professional teams here in the Benelux region. And then I even saw more opportunity to working with coaches alone. And because no one else did it back in the time globally, I decided to take on the reins myself and build Next Level Esports to support esports coaching and training the best esports coaches in the world. So in terms of like my credentials or my background, I have a teacher's degree, so that helps a lot. Understanding how education systems work, like understanding like motivation, like those basic psychological principles, but most of like how to translate information or complex information to bite-sized things that can really transform behavior. So I got experience in teaching and in education for 10 years. Also, during the time I was trying to become a professional coach, they followed a lot of professional coaching courses. I'm a certified action types practitioner, so that is about like deep psychological dynamics, tendencies of behavior patterns, in terms of like profiling how they behave, how they play. That helped me tremendously in getting success with esports teams over the years. Also, maybe good to add, I helped esports teams to grow from the regional level to international level on four different championships, basically. So did that, and now by the time I'm talking to you, I have helped over more than 1,000 esports coaches through programs, masterclasses, and over 500 plus coaches have followed like the premium esports courses, programs, and everything around that. So yeah, I think that in a nutshell, in short, I would say.
What an amazing introduction, man. Putting all the authority there. Like,
Yeah, boom, boom,
amazing.
boom, 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 boom. Let's go, let's go.
Amazing. Yeah, so you mentioned performance coach. Like, what does or what did a performance coach like you or like you do like for those teams? What were your, your your roles basically
Yeah,
as a performance
yeah.
coach?
Well, in the beginning, I thought a performance coach is, someone that helps with psychology, complex situations that coaches don't know, like how to handle those situations. And at some point, there were some occasions, but most of all, why I'm not a performance coach anymore, and why I help esports coaches is because I got paid quite good amount of like workshop money working with individual players and doing the work, but actually those problems that I was solving was a lack of like understanding of the basic concepts of like psychological safety, structure, all of those things that
Hmm.
esports coaches did not have. So I was, in my opinion, solving basic problems because the esports coaches didn't lack the tools or knowledge, or they didn't have the resources to solve those problems by themselves. So even at one point, yes, of course, like teams that were in the clinch with each other had conflicts that could not align, even though they had the best players on the roster and had high international potency to win championships and stuff. They did, but they flatlined. So they fly me in. But at the same time, also, um, one time I got called in, right? Easy money, but they could not align on their schedule, literally how to practice and how to sort out their training schedule. And
Okay.
okay, I want to get paid for that, but if I wanted to become a performance coach, I want to deal with like complex stuff or actually contribute, the value or things that I'd like to work with people with more, yeah, deeper stuff, more psychological stuff. And I was more so on, in my opinion, surface level. So uh, this is my expectation, but this was actually the reality. So that's why I transitioned later to also esports coaching and helping them.
Amazing, man. Also, another point that you mentioned right in your introduction about certified coaching programs. So,
Yeah.
two parts in this. What is your take on esports certifications, like focused on coaches? And do you do certifications like outside esports, like coaching programs, like or like in the traditional sports, or you do it like in esports? Like, what is your take on that?
Yeah, my take is like, instead of explaining like a certification from Next Level Esports, it is so much more than just a certification, right? That you can hang on your wall or it had some credibility. I think it's good to explain the thought behind why I do the certification or what it entails.
Okay.
What I see around the globe, because I'm not the only one currently that is doing like esports coaching or certification or trying to help develop. Everyone has their best intentions to professionalize the scene. However, what I've seen and also witnessed, went through, and also checked out some other programs or their website or how they promote things, it is very informational based. Coaching is not something that you can learn by just reading from a book or understanding. And most coaching certificates or programs, what they have is just like getting information in. I don't believe in any information, uh, because information in itself is useless, right? But it's about the application, from knowing what is esports coaching, then to understanding what the esports coaching is, then able to apply it in a practical setting, and then make it your own, to create your own system that aligns with your coach philosophy, your personality, and get a personalized approach with it. So there are different levels, and I believe the difference in what I do is not on the knowledge or understanding part, but really the application and evolving it to a next level. So, what I always say, one of my quotes, and you can ask many of my students what I repeatedly say: I'm not in the information business, I'm in the transformation business. So, I really change behavior through these courses and programs so they immediately can apply it, have success with it, and have an impact.
Okay, and what are the metrics or factors that you employ to personalize those, those coaching sessions with your
Yeah.
students?
Yeah. So instead of saying like, okay, this is the only way to do it, right?
Mhm.
I work with frameworks and systems that are, you can say, foolproof. And the way I compare this to, like most people here on LinkedIn or are a little bit older, right? So I can use the example of getting a driver license. So what is currently happening is people learn from a book how to drive a car, but we all know we need to have practice hours in. So the certification is basically getting your driver license. You are able to go on the road, and then you can create your own driving style, right? Understand what is safe, how to drive, how to be a good driver in society. And the same goes for what I do. So I use frameworks, I use ideas that basically produce positive and successful results. So one example is the framework of coaching. So that is like an 8-step system that allows you to create a professional, successful coaching session every time by just filling in the blanks. And every time there are like bullet points that you can do and have to your focus on. And by going through those steps or that framework, you can fill in your own context, no matter if you're an esports coach or like a Rocket League coach, League of Legends coach, Call of Duty, Valorant, EAFC, like FIFA, NBA 2K, Rocket League, it doesn't matter. You, depending on your context and what you seem is like, okay, this is the right game knowledge, these are the right things, you can build it from that framework to have a successful sessions that not only informs the players but transforms players. So it's a system in that.
And how do you make sure they apply it correctly? Because like one thing is like you're in the session, you information, you do the practical stuff as well, but
Yeah,
how do you make sure that they can apply then
they use
on a
it,
consistent
and
basis? They use
then
it.
we come to the next thing that all my students are thrown almost to death about, and that is use it or lose it. So instead of like doing the programs that we go through or with the coaches, they have
Mhm.
time to immediately apply and learn the things step by step in a practical sense on the spot with other coaches, so they learn and then can experience what it does for them and also for others, so on both sides. So they do coaching sessions for others, and they also receive like coaching sessions or these practical tips or these particular steps of the framework. They experience them, so it becomes meaningful to them on how it makes them feel, and then they, oh, that actually felt nice. Oh yeah, that was really good. Oh, this is helping me. Oh, I have so much confidence, right? And that is in a time span of like 30 minutes or 1 hour of going 1, 2, 3 steps already. And then you have these other steps. So it's really about using it or losing it. So the way I promote that is what others do is like, okay, just figure it out yourself. These are the 7 steps. I have these very thorough templates that you can literally fill in. So they make I hand them out like a practice preparation sheet, and then they can fill in exactly what their goals are, the behaviors that they expect, when they communicate this, when they ask questions, how to ask certain questions, how to make them excited. How do you make them excitement? How do I want to interact? Do I want to do that through discussion, thinking, presentation? Like so many ideas are on that template that you, if you just follow the steps, you will always have an engaging system. And when you go through those sessions, the coaches can basically just have an amazing cheat sheet of high quality where they can seamlessly follow the steps, and they will have a professional high level standard coaching session.
Amazing. And
And
one thing
that
you
is
mentioned,
one of the tools, for example.
one of the tools. I mean, do you want to go more deep on that? Because I had like a question
Yeah,
that may disappear from my head if I
yeah,
don't ask
sure.
it now. From what you
Go
said,
ahead.
um, so how do you teach like your coaches how to ask, the appropriate questions? Because appropriate questions, like good answers from the players. So how do you teach them?
Um, in order to ask good questions, you want to know what you're talking about, right? Or at
Mhm.
least be able to know how to facilitate the conversation. Because sometimes, as a player, you know a lot more about game knowledge than your coach does, right? But a
Mhm.
coach role is not always to only focus on game knowledge, it's also to facilitate the discussion, bring structure, right? Making sure every idea within the team is heard, because you have introverted people, more extroverted people. And of course, we all know those people that would like to share their opinion automatically, more extroverted people. And the introverted people, they might have maybe as good as an idea or even better ideas. So in order to facilitate that, that is really important as a coach to acknowledge those things. And in order to teach something, you want to know, okay, what are the topics that we want to talk about? So there are tools that I teach as well in order to brainstorm all of the ideas that are, for example, active in Rocket League, Valorant. So you
Mhm.
get aware of like, what can I teach? Why do I want to teach this, and how important this is? So you learn to put priorities and really to understand what is exactly the problem that we are trying to solve here. And when you got insight into like that particular problem or thing you want to, yeah, evolve, improve with your team, then then you have the systems or approaches that I also teach in order to facilitate those discussions and to be really effective in order to overcome and really extrapolate, and everyone to be on the same page and to know how to do that.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Oof, a lot of a lot of information here. Yes,
Yeah.
and from the things that you mentioned and how you work with your students, like what are like the most common attributes that you see that are missing or that coaches need to develop more of?
Yeah, there are several, but the biggest one is structure. What most people
Structure.
lack in the way they teach, the way they handle themselves, is structure. And I'm not some people confuse structure with like having a schedule, or these are the scrim times, or like that in structure. Yes, that is also under the umbrella of structure, but I'm more referring to like structure in your coaching, like having a certain approach, being predictable as a coach, understanding like what agreements are in a team. So a lot of teams in the beginning have like this honeymoon phase, right, where everyone is trying to behave well and be formally and try to be show up in the best way possible. But after a few weeks, they get into like a storming phase where conflicts arise, and things are talked about each other's back, like, yeah, I have a problem with this player, but I don't know how to express it. Hey coach, can you do this? And that is where structure is really useful, because if you don't have expectations, no set behaviors, no rules in place how to behave, that is really an unsafe environment. And most teams collapse or are not optimally aligned because there's no safe environment, because all of these steps that you basically, most of them that you do in the beginning of working together, a season, a tournament, or a school year together,
Mhm.
they are lacking. And because they are lacking, things grow crooked, like not in a straight line. I always say, like, a lot of coaches building towers of Pisa, the famous tower that is tilting, because the fundament is already crooked, right?
Yeah.
It's not able to sustain itself over a long amount of time. And as long some there is a point where they can stop building, and the only way to fix that building, the Tower of Pisa, to break it down and to go to the fundamentals again. And that is making setting expectations, making agreements, setting up rules. How do we behave? Building team values. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are we in this team? And all of those things are greatly lacking in most environments. Why there are issues, conflicts, people not aligning, disappointments, those things.
Amazing. And the values, behaviors, and the expectations, um, how you teach like your students? Is it like the coaches, coming up with the values in in their
Mhm.
team, or is it the coaches putting their values and that's what the team has to follow? Like, what approach do you see? Because like in sports, for
Mhm.
example, our values, okay, are modified on a yearly basis if they're modified, but
Yeah.
we go on a yearly basis, to see, okay, this is where we are now, okay, this is where we want to go next year, so this year we have to do this. Like, do we need to modify
Mhm.
expectations, our behaviors, like new stuff that we want to implement, so all this. So how do you do with your
Yeah.
students?
Yeah. So it's not like many programs that do values or set up agreements. It is mostly
Mhm.
one-sided. So like the director or coaches decide, like, okay, this is how we want to do things in the best intentional way. But what you're
Mhm.
missing is buy-in from the program or the players or the team, right? I'm assuming you have values, but you share that with your team as well. You include them as well. What do you find important, right? So you get the
Yeah.
buy-in, like, this is who we are, not what Ivan thinks, and then you have to apply this as well to your own life and work and how we do things. That doesn't
Mhm.
work that way. People like to have, be part of this movement and building in the team together. So how you do this is like you share expectations, like, what do you expect from one another, from a player? What do you expect from me as a coach? Maybe what do you expect from the school, the university, or maybe even parents, depending on your situation. And you bring those together, and through those expectations, you make agreements. And the ones that are left, you can also have rules, some non-negotiables, and those are the
Yeah.
rules. And then you have the values, and that's also an exercise to do together, right? You create those values together.
Yeah. One thing that we started to apply like a month ago was it's called the people analyzer, and it's because it's like, we have a form with our values, okay, and
Mm.
each team member, okay, has to grade every other team member from 1 to 5, how much they align with that value, okay, and we do
Mm.
it every month, the questionnaire. And if there's especially a team member that's a bit misaligned, like, we have a conversation, we're like, okay, like, so like we're basically on a monthly basis making sure that they're aligned with their values, and that works very well. And it actually makes us, spot, who's actually, in the buying, and who's not. Because
Yeah,
yeah, because having a team member, for a long time, and is misaligned, can affect the whole team. So that's the
for
process
sure.
that we use. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that. Some do it like a check-in in once a month.
Mm.
My ideal situation is that you keep the values alive by speaking them, right? Because when you
Yeah,
define
that
them,
as
you
well.
can use them in your language, and you can put energy towards it, right? Because yeah, what you put energy towards, it grows. So yeah,
Yeah.
it translates to behavior, language, everything that you do, and that's how it should
Yeah.
be. It's a living system, not just like some poster on the wall. You have to act it out,
Yeah.
else it's invaluable or not valuable at all.
Yeah. And the same with the mission. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
Our 10-year goal, like in every team call, is like, okay,
yeah,
so like like the mission is also super important to
yeah,
communicate. Yeah. So
exactly.
so going to a point that I wanted to touch,
Hmm.
about the collegiate esports scene. Okay. How can next level esports like impact the collegiate esports scene, and how do you see the collegiate scene right now as the coaches that
Yeah,
are getting in it? Because there's
yeah,
these coaches that are either going to do like a master's and they work as an assistant coach in the program. There's these coaches that work on a contractor basis. Um, how how do you see the coaches in the collegiate scene?
yeah, for sure. Great question. The way I see it, I would like to describe first the current situation.
Yeah.
So I think in most programs, what I've seen, they are a little bit of like glorified players. So that means they kind of treat coaches the same as players. And the way I see this is like, okay, the players, they see them as like, okay, they love to play games, they are passionate about it, let them play the games. The coaches that we install for these teams, they have a passion for the game and they just happen to love coaching. So let them be a coach and be at the best version of themselves, right? But there's literally little to no support. But we all know that coaches have a much different way of responsibility and role in the whole environment. And I also believe right now the role of the coach is highly, vastly undervalued in the way an collegiate program operates. Most programs, they see their coach as just an extension of their esports teams, like it's their esports activation. But imagine this, the way I see it, it's much more valuable because who is doing the interviews, right, with the new students? Because in the collegiate scene, most of it is, well, we can say that openly, a business model to attract new students, right? Esports, and right, to have a business and more students on the campus, scholarships and those things. So it's very close to being a business. So it's not only like nice people in a role that happens to coach a team, but I see them more as a crucial, essential part to be professionals, to right understand, to create a safe environment, show themselves up every single day, internally and outside, to be leaders at the forefront that translate the values of the program, of the teams, right? The structure, their professionalism outside, and that attracts more students, more people that feel like, yes, if I have, because if I'm taking the seat of like potential esports players or that want to study at your collegiate scene, they have these conversations with coaches, and it's not of course they are looking for the best scholarship option, but it's more like what feels the best for me. And usually the coaches that know how to professionalize themselves, able to talk in a certain way, know how to structure the interview, give a professional sense, know how to talk and how to think about like how you do things, how things are structured, that gives a sense of calmness around the potential, player or talent that is potentially wanting to have a scholarship there. And that's the deciding factor. The people are the deciding factor, not the program. The program is just something that is on paper, but the people make the difference. And yeah, the coaches are really in a crucial position. And if they change, professionalize, know how to act, behave through a certain standard, and that is all congruent, so aligned through the beginning, the middle, and also the end process of like coaching through a team, that is adding so much more value to the program in itself. And yeah, that's a complete world, complete different world.
Yeah, because in the recruitment phase, like usually, like some head coaches do have the recruitment calls with students, but it's mostly like an assistant director or an esports director of a program, and some esports directors from program do also like coaching, and the video games that they don't know, they externalize it, okay, through
Yeah.
other platforms. So yeah, the coaching, yeah, but like there's also this trend, like in traditional sports, for example, you're a player for 4 years, okay, and then you have this opportunity to do your master's degree, and you can have a J position or a work study position, and potentially become an assistant coach. Okay, so for you, what are the like what is the main factor, or the two main factors that like a player should consider in order to transition into a coaching position, or what makes a good coach? I don't know
Yeah,
how to put it.
what makes a good coach? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's doing a couple of things right, or a couple of things. No, I'm saying a lot of small things right. A lot of people think they go into coaching. Oh, as long as I'm friendly, I can connect with people. As long as I know the game or know the drafting, and I bring a little bit of scheduling, that is enough to be a coach. But coaching is
Mhm.
not about these things. It's about every single small interaction. In coaching, the small things are the big things. Every interaction is an opportunity to coach. And in order to to grow in that, I use, for example, the framework, or at least a method called the 4 pillars of coaching. So the first pillar is structure and clarity, knowing how to structure your environment, be very clear in your communication, set expectations, and all of that, right? Making everything like the logistical way also very seamlessly. Then the second pillar is stimulation and motivation. So that is what they all will want to learn. How do I give the right compliments? How do I reward behavior in the best way possible? How do I do that and create a very positive environment where everyone feels seen, then in a thriving environment? Then the third pillar is, I want to know as a coach, to how do I give individual attention? How do I not only get to know the player or the student, but how do I get the full complete person behind the player or the student? What is going on in their lives? How do I connect with that? How do I basically adjust the level of coaching towards their specific needs? Because I have 5 players in my team, for example, in Valorant or League of Legends or whatever, but every player is at the same rank, but they need to require different things. How can I, apply all of the knowledge that I have for each individual level? One needs more communication skills. Some other person need more leadership skills or strategy skills or mechanical skills. And the last one is transferring control. So instead of how I can orchestrate everything inside a team or player, how can I answer or give or ask the right questions, so they will provide the answers instead of me giving the answers, to make them more autonomous, make them part of the whole process and their own journey. Those are the 4 things that they will need. And under that are a lot of skills that they can learn and develop.
Amazing. There's also one thing that I wanted to point out from the framework, and it's like rewarding behavior. How do you do it? How do you find what motivates the players? So how do you work with that with coaches?
Yeah, it's simple. Simple doesn't equal easy, but it's
Mhm.
listening, asking questions mostly, and listening, observing, seeing their behaviors. What motivates one person doesn't motivate someone else. So you want to ask questions. Hey, Like, what gets you up in the morning? Like, why do you love playing League of Legends? For some, it's really like being the professor of like coming up with the weirdest strategies and off meta picks, and that, the creativity part of the game. The other one is just really the fighting, the excitement, the high pace type of thing. And those are really different things in order to understand the player. But also like motivation, like you can only create an environment that is motivating and stimulating, but motivation is not your job as a coach. It's motivation. The best motivation comes from the inside, and you can only facilitate it. And if you do it right, the people inside will be motivated. So there are many ways to do that by breaking up small goals, making sure they get success, making sure they are seen, heard, being, approached as a human being, as a friendly thing, doing things outside of the game, making connections. And in terms of rewarding, some people will immediately think like, oh, prize money, peripherals. But literally, what is the smallest thing? Sometimes it's just giving a wink or giving a fist bump. That is also a reward. People want to be seen, want to be connected, want to be valued. So if someone makes a play, right, that's really good, and you're standing behind, your players and their coaching, you can do a simple shoulder tap, and you will be thinking like, oh, Donny, is that really reward? Yes, that is also a reward. Is acknowledging someone of certain behavior that you would like to see. And all of those shoulder pads, fist bumps, high fives, compliments, all of those things, they contribute to this positive motivational climate and doing all of these things. So again, it's in the small things, not in the big prize money of all of these things. It's all about the small things. Those are the big things.
Donny, I'm liking the value here, because like also what you apply to coaches, I'm like, okay, at the same time, I'm listening to you and I'm like, how can I apply this into my business as well?
Yes.
With our team. So that's my thought process as I'm listening to you. So
yes.
yeah.
I chose the esports coaching route, but this is just like human psychology, and I only use the context of psychology or the context of esports to use all of those tools, because context is different, because most of it is online, right? You cannot pause certain games, right? They are constantly in contact with each other with the headset. So the context is like potato, same, but different. But that 10% or 15% that is different makes the world of different in order to be really effective as an esports coach. And that is where I come in and use all of these things and translate for esports coaches to make it work seamlessly and to develop, save years of experience of trial and error, and to help them succeed and being the leaderships of tomorrow.
That's what people would pay for, right? For experience, and to not commit the same mistakes that you did.
yeah like people are surprised when they grow in a very short time, and sometimes I'm surprised how fast it goes, because sometimes they went through a program or master classes, then like 6 months later they message me like, oh, because of this work ethic I got to like a world championship. You don't know like how much in terms of like work ethic and ideas you helped me with, or like all of the wins that they got, like, oh, we didn't even have the best roster because of the things that you've taught me. We went 20-0 in the regular season and we won the championship. It's amazing. Like, all of these messages keep, coming, and it surprises me all the time. Like, whoa, you're already there. And yes, because esports coaching has so much potential in this development, the people that educate themselves and develop with the right tools and knowledge, they get ahead of the curve very fast. Because if you learn how to do things and really take your passion seriously and take on the tools, going certifications, learning master classes, you'll be ahead of the curve, and you'll catch up so quickly. It's scary.
Yeah, and I really like also your application, because like you can have a lot of like those certifications, like classes, whatever. The information is there, like you finish it inspired and stuff like this, but then like you don't, if you have to play it by yourself, or sometimes it can be difficult. So like actually like the practical is the most value.
I believe so too, and I believe that is what differentiates me of among other certificates or programs. Like, honestly, I'm not gonna name, but I've seen a couple of certifications that probably are, in terms of information, are made by a human, but they are presented by AI. literally, AI just talking to me, like how is it transformative where there's no interaction or anything. And of course, like anything that is understanding, but the risk here is when you set that as a standard that is quite low or just like very low, if people feel see that like, oh, in 2 hours I just went through some AI videos, click some tests and some answers, the risk is that that will be the standard, right? Everyone think, oh, I already got the certification in esports coaching because I went through a 2 hour AI course and now I know everything about esports coaching. Well, sorry to break the news, but that is not really what makes the transformation in esports, and that really takes professionalization. But the people that want to learn and really transform and take their program, like their coaching teams or like their own esports career, to the next level, they can choose to do so, right? But it's a conscious decision. It doesn't come easy. It's really effort and putting the application in and making things practical and high help to save that time and really make the transformation.
Amazing. Donny, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to mention?
Well, maybe just like a shameless plug for maybe the people that are watching this or watching this back. Maybe you're wondering, how can I get into contact, or like how can I work with you, or maybe how can I explore, like maybe it's something for my program, my coaches, or maybe for myself. There are different ways. I do, of course, one-on-one mentoring for very specific questions because every context is different. I also have programs running that you can do self-paced, so in your own time, where you download all the practical templates, all the things that you can try and apply for yourself when you follow the steps. And also there are programs that you can follow as well that will be hosting or live every quarter. I will start a class of esports coaches every quarter that you can sign up for. And also for programs that feel like, okay, we have a lot of coaches. Can we do something in-house or specific, or making curriculum? Like how can we develop or make this like a business model to teach others, like through your ways? All of that is already available, and working with other, businesses as well that want to make this into a business model in different ways, they can do so as well. So building curriculum, teaching curriculum, train the trainer, everything is already there. So reach out and let's talk.
Amazing. Yeah, and in the following weeks, we have interesting stuff cooking, both of us. So we'll post that on social media as well.
Yes, for sure. For
Okay.
sure. Definitely.
Donny, thank you so much for your time, man. And
You're welcome, Ivan. It was a lot of fun.
Same.